This is a great question and one I've been asked a number of times at this point. I'm just going to go through the process of how you would actually go about finding a rent stabilized unit in New York City. This might be a little bit of a longer video, but hopefully useful to whoever out there is actually looking to find stabilized apartments. So first, the New York City Department of Buildings publishes a registry of buildings that are known to have units in them that are stabilized. It doesn't give the list of those units specifically, but it gives the list of those buildings. The next question is, where do you find those units? The simplest place to start is to just look at actual active unit listings, because you don't really care if a unit is stabilized or happens to be stabilized if it is an apartment you can move into. Because we're in New York City and StreetEasy is just so dominant, look at StreetEasy. Then at that point, you should only be looking at those unit listings that are in buildings that are known to be stabilized, back to that first data set. And there's like 50,000 addresses in that data set, so a little bit annoying, but definitely possible. So you want to do that intersection. From there are a bunch of legal requirements that get a little bit more nuanced and complicated. If the building was built before 1974, for example, if it has more or less than 6 units, tons of stuff like that. You could look up the actual legalese, just ask ChatGPT or go on the New York City website. There's a bunch of specific and nuanced rules that would point to whether something is more or less likely to be stabilized. One of the easiest things you can look at is rent history and tax status for that unit and the building. At this point, there's probably somebody in the comments typing blah, blah, blah. You can just ask New York City. That's true, but you go to that portal and you actually realize pretty quickly that the portal for asking if a unit is stabilized requires you to fill out a form and then wait for New York City to mail you. And the quickest they'll get back to you is in 7 days. So in my opinion, that's a bit of a pipe dream. If you're actually trying to find a unit, you don't have any chance. It's going to be leased by the time you actually get confirmation whether it's stabilized or not. So you really need to be playing this guessing game. That's really it. Okay, so you start with the list of addresses, then you check rent history, you check when was the building built, who owns it, what's the tax code, all that stuff. There's probably even a couple of other things you could look at to get a higher degree of confidence. Obviously, if the StreetEasy listing says rent stabilized, then it's definitely rent stabilized. This is exactly pretty much the process that RentSure uses to figure out. So anything that's 100% says rent stabilized in the description, anything that's 80 to 99% has a lot of strong signal. Anything 80 and below, you're rolling the dice. But in my experience, I've had people tell me the things that are 50 plus are actually, there are a number of those that are actually stabilized. I'd say below 20% probability, you might as well be looking at other stuff, but always worth taking a shot.